Okay. In my pot, I'm making soup. In my pot, I have bean check. In my pot, I have the fat left over from some chicken juice when um, I baked some chicken thighs. And I saved one of the juice from the trays, and that's the fat in there. But it's fat water, so a lot of the water is gonna boil off, so it's not actually that much fat. So I'm adding some olive oil to help supplement that. And I was staring at my beans for so long because I didn't know if the floating ones were bad or not, but I figured, fuck it. I figured it was fine, so I just let those beans be. This is ground turkey from Smart and Final. I've used it a lots of times before, and it's got a lot of water in it, so it's pretty difficult to brown, but we're gonna do the best I can. I was tasting my bean water there because I put some of the chicken juice, the stock part of the chicken juice, into the beans to flavor them while I cook. But I'm gonna drain that water out because I hadn't soaked these beans. So it's not like I'm cooking the beans with chicken stock, a little bit of chicken stock, but the juice is not necessarily going back into the soup. Um, yeah, so I smushed that ground turkey into the pan as best as I could. It'll make a little bit of browning, but I just like to, sort of cook the outside of the ground meat, and then I'm gonna take it out of the pot. And then it can finish cooking when I bring the soup to a boil later. And yeah, it's not necessary to add any like deglazing liquid because just stirring things around is enough to release a lot of water from the meat itself. It deglazes itself. Probably because it's cheap. That's my guess. Easier to freeze if it has water in it. Or I don't know. It wasn't frozen, so easier to refrigerate. I don't know. That's my guess. Or it just weighs more if there's more water content in it. That's my guess. I don't actually know. But it's looking good, so I'm gonna take it out. Adding a little oil back in to fry the next batch. The oil is not as hot as I wanted it to be, but it was starting to splatter from the bits from the previous batch of ground turkey. The bits were starting to splatter all over me, so I didn't want to deal with that. So I just chucked in the next round of turkey. I'm doing this thing with the editing where I'm fast forwarding the more repetitive parts or parts that I've shown before. Oh, here again you can see more clearly how the ground turkey just really deglazes itself, and how it was crusty in the beginning, but just after a little mixing, the water really spreads around. But yeah, I'm as you can see, I'm doing this thing where everything I think at baseline is at 2x speed because this video was going to be super long, and then for parts that it seemed, redundant to stay on, instead of cutting so frequently, I just decided to increase the speed of the clips. So most of this is 2x or 4x. I think maybe this part is 6x. There might be one or two 6x, but that was a bit too. I don't think there's too much of that going on. This is where I tried to be a hero and dump it all in. My forearm was too weak, so don't be a hero. Just scoop your turkey out. I'm putting that liquid back in because there's some oil in it, some of the olive oil and the chicken fat oil, and also the water from the ground turkey. I mean, it's basically just turkey stock, so that's gonna help steam my vegetables and get them cooking faster. And I try not to add too much. Like, if I added oil for this browning the vegetables or cooking the vegetables part of the process, then at the end of my soup I have a bunch of oil, like more than I'd like to have. I have more oil than I like to have floating on the top, so that's why I added that stock back in, that turkey juice and olive oil. Here I have some my celery was freezer burnt on the top. I don't know if you can see, but yeah, I just cut off part of the freezer burnt part. Yeah, you can see it pretty clearly there, but there's no difference when eating it, especially because it's soup. And then later I was unsure what to do with this whole extra celery stalk because they were sold in a package of 2. I ended up just being like, well, I'm not just gonna hold on to one whole thing of celery, so one whole bushel of celery. So I decided to throw it in, and I ended up just chopping off all of the freezer burnt area. But that was more so just to reduce the amount of celery in this soup. I think I also forgot to put I have a second onion that I forgot to put in. And that, I think, goes in off camera when my camera runs out of battery. Yeah, the problem I have with this burners are that, or maybe it's because I added too much of the turkey stock, is that my vegetables don't end up browning that much, unless I have them go for a really, really long time. So maybe I shouldn't have added that extra liquid. I don't know. I don't think my vegetables really browned hardly at all this time. But I tried. And I think I want to get a more powerful electric burner. This one is butane. My beans are cooking up on a very weak electric burner. But I want to get one of those flat electric burners that are pretty powerful. And I left this core of the celery stalk out because it doesn't get really dirty anyway, because it's on the inside, and I find that they tend to fall apart when I wash them, and I didn't want any leaves to go down the drain. yeah, this making the soup, it finished the rest of my butane can, and yeah, it's not something I want to have to replace all the time. Seeing as I'm running low on soup already, because I gave some away. Yeah, so maybe if I didn't add all that extra liquid, perhaps if I just added that oil, I could have achieved a little bit more browning. But I don't know. At this point, it's such a huge pile of vegetables steaming that it takes a long time for and a lot of heat for it to get brown anywhere. Back when I lived in a place with a kitchen that had an actual range, um, the range would obviously get hot enough that it can crust on the bottom and get brown, and then I can stir everything back in and rinse and repeat that. But with this standalone cute butane guy, it's not strong enough. These are some chilies that I'm gonna blend up because I saw a bunch of YouTubers doing it, and I was like, well, I live in California and grew up seeing these packets of dried chilies all the time. I should try it. My camera ended up running out of battery. Oh yeah, I'm putting them in some water to soak. Some people do stock. I mean, it's all that water is going in the soup anyway, so. These bigger mushrooms were on sale, so I bought them because they were cheaper than the smaller mushrooms. And I included the stems because I just wanted to try them. I know some people throw them away. It's fine. I chopped off the very bottom of the stem. And just cut these up into chunks. They're a little bit, I guess, spongy. I think if I had cooked them from the beginning, they wouldn't be so spongy. But I don't mind the texture, and also I was worried that I wouldn't get any browning at all, which I didn't really end up getting any browning. So maybe it would have been better to throw them in earlier. But you live and you learn, I guess. So I should have thrown in those mushrooms earlier, so the texture would have come out a little better, a little less squishy and spongy. Here's where I started to have technical issues. I shorted out my little power strip, so I'm using a different power strip to boil that water because I think it's gonna. I'm boiling the water in the kettle. Yeah, see, my bean water also. Yeah, the power strip died. My bean water also stopped cooking when I tried to boil the water in the kettle. And here's some various spices: bay leaf, turmeric, just what I have on hand, garlic powder. Really, I think that little container of chicken stock, I ended up putting all of my chicken stock in there. Yeah, my camera died, and I was dealing with my power strip that had gone out, which really pissed me off. And so yeah, I did that. Everything went in, put in the kettle boiled, and I put in the water. Soup. Let it come to a boil, and then let it sit at a boil for a couple minutes, and then just turn it all off, and it was hot enough to, simmer. And I stirred it around, left it on the table stirred it every 30 minutes or so. And then before I went to bed, I put it in my fridge. I'll be making soup again soon because I'm running out. And I'm going to try just talking while I'm doing the soup. So I'm not doing a voiceover. I want to see how that goes. Okay, thanks for watching.